So I went to my local tackle shop the other day and they had some of the Crush City Freeloaders. So I figured I'd pick up a pack, see what the hype was all about, and I'll let you guys know what I think. Now, while I was out there testing, I did catch some decent fish on it, and I really liked this color right here, which is called Gizzard Shad. But what I noticed was on almost every single bait in the pack. Now, I only have one pack, so I don't know if this is common or if it's just the pack I got, but you can see a lot of the pearl bleed over the top of this green pumpkin side. So I like the color enough. I wanted to see if we could duplicate it, but clean it up a bit. This is what you're going to see a lot with mass-produced baits, and as we've all mentioned with laminating like a soft plastic jerk bait, when you have that hook slot in the belly and you're laminating what I would assume to be a liquid with a powder, kind of that pearl, you will get a little bit of that pearl bleed over. But we're going to see if we can duplicate this color and kind of clean it up a little bit. So let's get over here and get started. So this Gizzard Shad color, you can see it's kind of a green pumpkin-y top, and it looks like gold flake, purple flake, and some black flake in there. And it looks like it's all the small size. And then the belly, to be honest, that belly just looks like Snowshine from Dead On. I'm sure they use whatever brand they have, but I think Snowshine will get us close. Now, one thing to note, these baits are salt infused, so their colors are going to, especially that belly color, they're going to be a little bit more cloudy. I'm not going to use salt in the baits that I make today, so if we get this color match down, our colors may look a little more vibrant, but it'll still give us a pretty similar looking color. So we're going to start with the belly color because I think it'll be the easiest. I think just straight Snowshine will get us close. We're going to go with about 20 drops. So we've got our 20 drops in. We're going to stir it up real quick. So it's still pretty thin. I think I'm going to go, let's go with like another 10. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do to try to cloud it up a little bit is I'm just going to add 1 drop of white. Because like I mentioned, theirs has salt. I don't want salt in these. So I'm just going to add that 1 drop of white just to kind of cloud it up a bit. And you'll see how that 1 drop makes a huge difference. Alright, so that looks pretty close. Now, what I'm going to do to test it is I'm going to get out my jerkbait mold. So here we have our jerkbait mold. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the side with the belly, and I'm just going to hand pour it. So think of this, I know Epic has their color test mold. You can do the same thing with that. I just don't have that mold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mold, and I'm using this mold because it has the belly color on one side and the back on the other. So as we mix our colors, we're going to pour it into the mold. We'll compare it to the original once that dries, and we'll see if we need to make any adjustments prior to pouring. So our plastic's cooled off for our belly color. We're just going to peel this out. And then we can compare it to the original. So as I kind of expected, I feel like color-wise, we're really, really close. Theirs is obviously just a little bit cloudier because of that salt. So I think I actually want to add a little bit more Snowshine, and then I might use a few drops of silver and see if we can get just a little bit closer. Okay, for Snowshine, we're just going to put about that much in there. And then let's stir that up and see how much it thickens it up. Alright, so I still think I want to add, I'm going to start with 1 drop. Let me grab it. So I've got this silver from MF, and I'm going to start with 1 drop and see how much it changes it, because it's very, very subtle. What I mean by subtle is, if we look at these two again, it's just, I mean, it's so close. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. So let's test pour one more and see if that got us any closer. So here's test pour number 2. I think that is about as close as we're going to get without adding any salt. You can see there that color, it's playing off of the green just a little bit. So when you hold them to the side, yeah, I think that's pretty darn close. All right, so we got our belly color finished up. Now let's start working on the top. So for the top color, you can kind of see it's kind of a green pumpkin-y looking color. You can see all that pearl bleed over there, so it's kind of hard to really tell. But so we've got kind of a green pumpkin base, gold flake, purple flake, small black flake. So I think I have a color, let me grab it. So I have this from MF, it's green pumpkin gray. I've only used this color once, but I feel like it's going to get us pretty close. So let's start with that. Let's go with let's go 20 drops to start. All right, so there's 20 drops. Let's get it all mixed in. Now the other thing I want to do at this point, so we're still pretty thin on the color, but what I want to do is I want to add our flake, because the flake will alter the color. So I want to go ahead and get those added before we start fine-tuning this color. So I'm going to start with a 1/16 of a teaspoon, and we're going to go with 0.015 black. We're going to put 0.015 purple. And then also some 0.015 gold. This small flake goes really far, so a lot of times if you're used to using an 1/8 teaspoon in your larger flakes, you can get away with a 1/16. So there we go. It looks actually pretty close to the actual amount of flake in this. It actually has a lot of flake. It can be kind of difficult to see just because of, like I keep referring to, that powder bleed over right there. It kind of hides a lot of it. But I think that'll get us pretty close. So let's pour one and then we'll compare. So here we go with test number 1. All right, so I feel like we're on the right track, but we're way too thin. See how you can see all the way through that? I feel like we need to make our color just a little bit thicker. And the more I look at this one, there's almost, if you look right up in here in the head, it's almost like a gold kind of highlight effect. But it's very, very minor. So I think we're going to thicken our color just a little, maybe add just a tiny bit of gold highlight, and then check it out. So we're going to add another 20 drops of our green pumpkin gray. Then we're going to take our gold highlight, and I'm only going to use a 1/64. I want a very, very small amount of gold highlight. To get all that stirred in. That looks a lot closer in the cup. But my plastic's starting to cool off a lot. I'm going to reheat this real fast. We'll pour one more run, and we'll see if we need to make any more adjustments. So here we go with our second test. I think that's pretty, maybe we need to thicken that up a little bit more, but I feel like that's pretty close. It's hard to see on camera because, like I keep referring to, I'm going to beat this dead horse. All that, or the powder bleed over, the pearl bleed over, is kind of making that difficult to see it on camera. But I feel like that's pretty close. Let me make this just a little bit thicker, because you can still see we're still pretty see-through. then this color isn't really see-through at all. And a lot of that's going to be because of the salt. But I think I'm going to thicken it up just a little bit more. And then we're going to run some baits. We're going to go ahead and add 20 more drops. So that's going to put us at 60 drops total for the green pumpkin gray. And then one thing I want to try, I'm actually going to add a few drops of snow shine to see if that snow shine sheen will kind of match that just a little bit better. So let's go 5 drops. All right, here we go. We're gonna make some of these jerk baits that we tested the colors in. See how we did. It's time to see how close we got. Oh yeah, so I can already tell it is what we wanted, that cleaner version of it. So let's pull these out and see how they look. So here is the one we made next to theirs. I think those are really, really close. Without adding the salt, because the salt is what's going to give it that cloudiness. But without adding salt, I feel like we're pretty close right there. All right, so I pulled one off and really took a close look. So I think what I'm going to do, I like the belly. I don't want to touch the belly. I feel like that is the same color, just minus the salt. But for the top, I think I want to add just a little bit more gold flake. And then maybe just a touch more of that gold Hi-Lite powder and try it again. Because it's hard to see. If you look really close, a lot of that gold coming through on this one isn't the flake. It's that Hi-Lite. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit more Hi-Lite powder, maybe a little bit more gold flake. I don't know. All right, nope, no more gold flake. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the Hi-Lite powder, make one more run, and see how it compares. It's time to see if adding that little bit more gold got us just a little bit closer. So you can see right there, I'm glad I didn't add any more gold flake. If you look at it from the side, I feel like we're good on the flake saturation. But I just wanted a little bit more of that gold. Sorry, I know the reflection's hard. All right, let me get these out, and then we'll look at them closer. So I found an angle to where you can kind of see it as clear as, because if I turn it, you get all that pearl bleed over. If I hold it just right, I think that's it. I think that is the color we were looking for. So I would call that successfully cleaning up this Gizzard Shad color. Let me know what you guys think. And there you have it, guys. That is our cleaned up version of this Gizzard Shad color by Crush City. I really like this color. I enjoy doing this type of video, so let me know what you guys want to see more of. Do you want to see me do more color matches like this, or would you like to see where I actually add salt to the bait and try to get an exact recipe? Obviously, we don't know what colors they're using from what companies, but we'll get as close as we can. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and found something useful. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.